Well, hey everybody. In this video, I will introduce the budget tool and show you how you can use this spreadsheet to manage your personal budget. You'll notice that the layout of our categories is exactly the same as we've seen in the monthly spending plan form, which we use to create a zero-based budget. If you are not familiar with the monthly spending plan form and have not used it to create your budget, I suggest going through that tutorial first before watching this video. You can find it on YouTube under the title Creating a Zero-Based Budget. Next to the categories column, you can see we've provided a segment for each month of the year. Each month is broken into three sections. From left to right, they are the budget amount, inflows and outflows, this is a record of your income and expenses, and the balance, which keeps track of what you currently have available in each category. I'll begin by entering my example budget in the budget column of the current month. I will use January as a starting month. If the month you begin using this tool is another month, then just enter your numbers in that month segment. As I enter my budget amounts, you'll notice that the same amounts are automatically entered in the subsequent months. This is helpful for several reasons, which will become clear as we go through this tutorial. For now, I want to point out one thing here that you'll need to know. If I make a change in my income in the month of February, let's say I got a one-time bonus of $500, making my income $3,750. You'll notice that March through December income values change also. But if I only want that change to reflect my February income, then I must manually change March's income back to my regular income of $3,250. And of course, the following months will then reflect my normal income amount. This applies to any changes you make on this form. If you want a category amount to change for all the months, then you need only enter the amount in the respective month the change takes place. If the change is only for a specific month, you'll need to manually change the following month's amount to the previously budgeted amount as I showed in the income change example. I will go ahead and allocate the income to the rest of the categories. Remember that you don't need to enter the total for each major category. You need only enter the subcategory amount and the total is calculated for you. Now that I've entered all the amounts of the budget example, you'll notice that the net income versus expenses cell is 0. This tells me that I've allocated all the income by entering all the expenses below. If I were to allocate more than $3,250, the cell would show a negative number. For instance, if I make the giving amount $400, it shows that I've over-allocated my income by $25. If I allocate less than the total income, say I make the giving $350, it would show me a positive $25, indicating that I still have $25 to allocate to my budget. Now, let me introduce you to the other worksheets in this workbook. You'll notice here at the bottom of the form that I have a specific tab for each month of the year. These represent transaction registers for each month of the yearly budget. Remember what I told you about tracking expenses? That's right. You'll have to track income and expenses until you no longer want to be financially free. So we've provided a way for you to do that here. Since the example budget begins in January, I will use the January tab to post the income and expenses. I'm going to enter the first paycheck. The Categories section has a built-in drop-down menu, which you can use to select what category the transaction belongs to. Note that the options on the menu are the same as the category list of our budget. It includes all the subcategories in order as they are listed on the budget form. Since this is income, I will choose net income. The memo line is for the description of the transaction. I will enter this as paycheck. And the amount I will enter in the inflow column since it is a deposit. Now, let's enter a transaction that is an expense. I will enter the tithe next. Again, choose from the drop-down menu, Giving, and in the memo I will put tithe, so I can distinguish it from other giving, which would be offerings. The amount is $187.50, which represents 10% of the gross, and you'll notice it is in the outflow column since it is a deduction from the budget. I'll go ahead and enter a few more transactions for different categories, just as you will when you use this form for your own budget. Remember to enter your expenses often, daily if possible. This will ensure you will always know where you are in relation to your budget. Now that I've entered all the transactions, let's see how it's affected the budget. I'll access the budget through the Budget tab. As you can see, the transactions I entered on the January transaction register now show up on the budget in the January budget segment. Here's the tithe for $187.50. And since the monthly tithe is estimated to be $375, there's still a balance of $187.50 left over. This means when the second paycheck comes in, the remainder of the tithe can be paid. One food transaction has been entered in the amount of $68.97. If I had entered several transactions for food, this number would reflect the total of all those transactions. As you can see, I am left with $181.03 for the rest of the month. This is the most important part of budgeting, knowing how much you have left to spend in each category throughout the month. Some expenses are fixed, like the mortgage or rent payment. Other expenses vary from month to month, like most utilities. In this example, you can see that the budgeted amount for electricity and gas is $150 per month. The January payment was only $114.57, which is $35.43 less than what was allocated, shown here in the balance column. At this point, you may be thinking, great, extra money. Hold on there. This amount is the average monthly amount, not the actual. Some months it will be less than $150, and other months it will be more. So you must leave that money there to take care of those months when the bill will be over $150. Notice that the $35.43 left over from January is added to the $150 which will be allocated in February, and the new balance is now $185.43. Already you have more than the average set aside, should the next bill be higher than the average. The budgeted amount for the water is $50 per month, but as you can see, the payment for January was $67.50. This puts us in a negative balance. Again, if we average the monthly amount budgeted, we know some months will be less and some months will be more. In this case, we will leave the negative balance stand. And if we've averaged correctly, future bills should be less, which will put us back in the black. The only concern here is to make sure that the checking account doesn't go into the negative, causing you to go into overdraft and having to pay a bunch of fees. Although you will no longer spend according to how much you have in your checking account, you still have to make sure that there is money in the checking account to cover your expenses. Your checking account balance at the end of each month should be the total of all category balances combined. The other two transactions we have are for clothing and gas for the car. In each of these categories, you'll notice that there's a balance left over, which means we've not gone over the budgeted amounts. However, what if we did go over in a category? Well, let me show you how we may deal with something like that. Let's say that the clothing purchase was over the $75 allotted. I will change this on the January transaction register. Let's change this to $91.45. When I go back to the budget, I can see that I've overspent by $16.45. Now, I can leave that as is and have less to spend next month, which would give me only $58.55 in my clothing budget for February, or I can make a decision to move some funds from a different category to cover the expense. I can do this by reducing my entertainment fund by $16.45, which will make the new allotted amount $23.55, and increase the clothing fund by $16.45, which would make the new amount $91.45. This would cover my clothing expense for January and allow me the full $75 for February. Now don't forget to change the next month's numbers back to the original budget numbers. Clothing must be set back to $75 and entertainment back to $40. This kind of borrowing from one category to another is acceptable as long as it's not a monthly occurrence. Alright, we're almost done. Another section I want to show you is the major expense timing section. We've created this section to help you in planning for future income and expenses. Throughout the year, there are some expenses and possibly some extra income that happens once or twice a year. Some of these can be significant. This section will help you to note these and plan accordingly. This section is not tied in automatically to the budget. It serves more as a place in your budget where you can set reminders and plan for one-time events throughout the year. Net income is where you would put bonuses. Other expenses that you could use this section for are property taxes, house and car insurance, Christmas gifts, and vacation. By setting the amount you will need ahead of time, you can set a plan in place to make the funds available when you need them. For instance, if your car insurance policy renews every 6 months, you can set the premium amount in the month the policy is due for renewal. This will serve both as a reminder and as a way of helping you plan for this expense. Let's say the renewal is in June and it's $738. That equals to $123 per month, which you will put in the budget under car insurance. When June rolls around, you'll have the funds to pay the policy in full. This example can work for any other expense you may have that occurs once or twice yearly. Okay, last thing. Let me explain this top section better so you can understand what these numbers represent. We've already covered the numbers under the budget column. Under the inflow-outflow column, you'll see the current income that's come in of $1,625. Below this number is the total expenses. This is the total of all the expenses that have been made so far in this month. And below that is the total net income versus expenses. This is the actual available money at this point in the month, $355.51. The first number in the balance column is the balance of the net income. Since one paycheck has been entered, this leaves the other paycheck missing, thus the negative number. When the next paycheck is entered, the cell will display 0, showing that all of the income for the budget has come in. The next number below this is the total expense balance. Since we've spent $1,269.49 and our budget is $3,250, the remaining funds left to spend is $1,980.51. These are the funds still available for the month of January. Although this is true, the actual money available to spend right now is $355.51. When the next paycheck is deposited, then all of the funds will be available to spend. Well, I hope this tutorial and this form will help you in implementing and using a budget to accomplish your financial goals. Thanks for watching.